Imagine you've been on a date with a girl for over an hour. All the topics have been discussed, and it's time to bring the meeting to its logical conclusion somewhere in a private place. Yet you can't think of any suitable topics to take her to the spicy end of the evening. As a result, the girl heads home with the following words:
"We had a good time. I'm glad I have a friend like you."
Why, it's almost always the case. You see, men seem to get lost and don't know what to talk about with women, thus they become no strangers to the friend zone. Back at the beginning of my immersion in female psychology, a friend of mine who was incredibly successful in dating women told me about the most effective conversation topics that lead to the fastest possible connection with girls. The guy didn't have great looks or a lot of money, but it was his ability to communicate that allowed him to arrange several hundred dates that ended up at his place. You know the drill. In this video, we'll walk you through these very topics. By initiating them on a date, you might be able to quickly skip the whole thing to the stage of physical contact with a girl. One of these techniques is actually dangerous, so be sure to watch the video to the end. But before I give you a list of the said topics, I'll tell you the basic principles of communicating with women so that you can easily select topics meant to move you closer to your ultimate goal. So there are two types of conversation topics on dates. The first type is perfect if you want to sit on a date with sweaty hands, not knowing what to say, and end up in the friend zone. Those include conversations on studying, hobbies, music, movies, work, and a long list of worn-out topics. To begin with, girls are already tired of discussing such topics. Secondly, they are all tied to logic. As soon as a girl needs to use logic, she gets bored, gives short answers, and eventually leaves under some strange excuse. The second type of topics refers to anything that stirs emotions. These are the things we need to discuss. Remember, girls are emotional creatures, and all they want is to receive emotions. In order to take your date to a more intimate level, you only need two simple things: her desire and her trust. I guess I don't need to explain the desire part. If a girl has agreed to meet you, you have already hooked her up in some way. Trust, or what we might call comfort, has a bit more complexity to it. What most people mean by comfort is that you need to pursue a girl, shower her with compliments, take her to expensive restaurants, and put on shows so that she doesn't get bored. But what is meant by real comfort is the extent to which a girl can relax, turn off her thoughts, and shift the responsibility for everything that happens next to you. Listen, in today's society, girls are judged for their desires. If she finds herself in bed right on the first date, people may be putting a bad label on her. Most girls have their own secret fantasies they hide for fear of being misunderstood. You will definitely be surprised if you look at the statistics of adult websites. Once you see what videos they prefer to watch, not to mention what kind of stories they read, you will discover a completely new and amazing world of women's desires. That said, they keep it all deeply hidden so as not to run into public condemnation. So the only adequate and effective way to let her open up and get closer to you is to simply take full responsibility. In other words, you don't ask her whether she wants to come to your place. Instead, you directly invite her to move somewhere more private. You confidently take the decision for both of you and deliver it straight away. This will make it easier for her to justify herself. No alcohol or any pickup techniques are needed to make it work. In this case, her psyche will be grateful to you, and you will gain the cherished trust, which will turn into an even greater desire. Think of it as the only way you can guarantee yourself a positive outcome and not rely on chance. Still, you won't immediately invite her home for tea with a hint of continuation, right? Therefore, it is important to make a smooth transition from platonic conversations about work and hobbies to a closer level of contact. There are several ways to achieve this: through touch, through a change of scenery that is gradually approaching a place where you can be alone, or by moving on to more intimate conversations. Talking helps to ensure an easier and more meaningful approach to the matter. The good thing is that you don't have to talk about bed games directly. After all, a girl's imagination will draw everything we need by itself. You've probably heard the phrase, "What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas." It doesn't seem to imply anything specific, but certain images and associations arise in your mind automatically, do they? You've probably already imagined a guy going to a bar after a casino and picking up a beautiful lady. Then things started spinning fast for them. Society, media, and culture have already instilled the necessary associations in us. So feel free to use the same techniques that marketers and filmmakers have been exploiting for decades to your advantage. Think about why almost every girl is sleepy during double classes after a sleepless night. Unfortunately, it's not because of them watching documentaries or reading books, but because of TV series like those on Netflix. topics where everything is centered around parties, fun, and intimate relationship. And here we have our first topic, parties. What could possibly sound more liberating than a crazy party with close friends who are just as wild as you are, all doing some crazy stuff? In fact, almost all cult classic movies like The Hangover are based on this principle. The second topic involves traveling. The theme of traveling is similar to parties, but it also includes adventures, possible difficulties, and unexpected situations that could happen to you. New people, new culture. These are always thrilling experiences to listen to. They give you a sense of carefree spirit and freedom. This section could also include resort romances. When girls decide on a trip to another city, they start looking for acquaintances on local websites before they arrive, someone to show them around. Well, you can guess how these city tours end up. The next topic runs smoothly if used correctly, but if used in the wrong way, it could totally kill the attraction. Yeah, I'm talking about past relationships. Perhaps guys mistakenly think that humiliating their exes makes them look superior to them, but let's look at the situation from a girl's perspective. If you used to have such a terrible girlfriend, why didn't you look for someone better? Also, if you talk about your exes like that, she might think you're gonna say the same when it comes to her. Say goodbye to her trust too. However, smart men, instead of scolding their exes, tell them how fascinating and awesome these girls were. This way, you can safely move on to discussing how you perceive relationships in general. Try asking related questions like,
"What was your first kiss like?"
or
"What was your most unusual intimate experience?"
if you are able to convey to a girl your adequate position on the subject of a perfect relationship, it will put you head and shoulders above the rest. I can state this with certainty since I often ask girls after our dates what it was that turned them on to me. One of the most common answers was,
"I like how responsible you are about relationships."
Tattoos, piercings, revealing clothing, and other trends that are associated with people who are comfortable with easy relationships without commitment also tend to work well. I hope you get the idea. All it takes is to find something remotely related to intimacy for it to become a superb topic of conversation. A good example of a topic related to secret desires involves sharing romantic scenes from movies or books. Ask the girl about the movies or TV shows she considers the most romantic and why she memorized them in the first place. Then go ahead and describe your impressions. Tell her what moments you found particularly touching. Such talks create a cozy and intimate atmosphere, as well as opening up opportunities to discuss personal desires. The last topic on this list is actually a very powerful technique. It allows you to play with the girl's imagination and build projections for the future. The danger lies in the fact that some girls may feel used by you as a result. Therefore, I would ask you to practice this one only with those ladies with whom you are willing to develop a serious relationship, but not for one-night stands. Basically, it's about fantasizing about the future. For example, the idea of living in a house by the sea in many years' time. Together you can discuss what your house will look like, what you will name your dog, and what you will do in your free time. Although this is just an imaginary situation, in its context you already have a relationship. Nevertheless, if the imaginary relationship with you was in her head at some point, then there's not much to wait for before things get real. The catch is that you can treat the mentioned scenario both seriously and in the format of a joke or game. The human psyche doesn't know what jokes are. It doesn't care whether a girl takes it seriously or for fun. Everything will be stored in her head and she will be subconsciously attracted to you. Remember, if a girl continues to communicate with you, she is likely to find you pretty interesting. So stop worrying whether she'll leave once you initiate one of these topics. On the contrary, she will be glad that there is someone who doesn't judge her and is ready to openly talk about what gives you both pleasure. We'd be happy if you found this video helpful. Have a great day and see you in a bit. Bye.